want to. You don't gotta do it if you don't want to. You don't gotta do it if you don't want to. It's just a suggestion. Come on.
A second one, echo.
Oh, we're doing this again.
We are. Here we go. Welcome back to the ConverSAYtion. We're here still, yet again.
Yet again.
I sound less surprised this time.
Good. It's starting to become routine.
We're just gonna press on.
Press on. Keep on going. So last episode on workplace relationships today.
Workplace relationships, our thoughts. Of course, you know, letter K. And of course, he brings me along psych, letter K, just as usual.
Just making it run.
Mm-hmm.
A well-oiled machine.
Yeah. So, workplace relationships as it pertains to one's interactions and experiences with their employer, with their owner, with their supervisor, with their management team. And I think we're going to focus a little bit more on interpersonal relationships, friendships, could be relationships that start as a result of your interactions at the workplace. Kind of curious, do you have lasting friendships that you have established or that started, their genesis was in a position, a previous job of yours?
Very few. And I don't know that I think that I might be more of an outlier. I think that people who work at a place tend to build lasting friendships if they stay in that place. And my largest career swath is groceries, and I was transferred a lot. So for me, I did make friends. In fact, we were just talking about my public access TV show before, the video cookbook. And everybody on that show is a grocery friend, somebody I made in groceries. And I don't interact with any of them anymore. Some of them I'm still, like Facebook friends with, and, we might get into a social media conversation, but I don't hang out with any of them. I have two close friends that I speak to regularly, that I will go out of my way to spend time with. One of them lives in Arizona, and a boogeyman lives in Arizona, and I will go visit him. I have two friends that meet the criteria for lasting, like I love these people friends. So, and I've worked with thousands of people. So I think that for me, and my difficulties in making lasting friendships, that I might not be the best barometer for how common that place that is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've got the two friends, and I'm going to think about this for a moment, so I make sure that I don't have a third that I'm totally throwing under the bus right now.
Yeah, you don't want to lose a friend in the process of having to name friends.
Because those three people are the only ones that will be watching our podcast. Yeah,
sure. I'm just reviewing the list of jobs that I've had, and no. When I worked at the pizza place, there's quite a few people that I have connections with. We're not consistently communicating, but they're people I could call up and, hey, are you interested in doing this? And they might join me. And if they called and wanted to go do something or go out to lunch or something like that, I would go and we would spend time and we'd catch up, and we'd probably be right back to where we were. I think employees at restaurants are a little bit different than most positions. It's fast paced, it's grueling, it's everybody's hot and tired, and you take your breaks and lunches at the restaurant, you're eating there with them. A lot of people go out after hours. There's lots of tobacco use and alcohol use in activities that transpire post work. But that job in particular, those people that I knew well, those people that I hung out with, I could easily get right back we could jump right back into our friendship and it'd be like no time had passed at all. But no, I don't see them or interact with them on a regular basis. Just kind of going through some of these other jobs here. Maybe a few people teaching, but while I was in my last teaching position, actually now 2 teaching positions ago, there were people I hung out with, and we were work friends, but no, not lasting at all. I don't think I have any. I do not think. I think probably exception, and this is not for everyone, and I do not recommend this at all. Back to the first episode of this series. No, it was the first episode of the last series when you asked
the
me.
romantic relationships.
Yes, when I met my wife while I was at work. Well, I don't know if I mentioned at the time that within a week she was able to get a job for me at the YMCA where she was currently working, and she was my boss. And she was in charge of training me and supervising me, which is kind of curious, right? I was at work, she was a customer. We decided to hit it. We hit it off, and then I was kind of underemployed at the time, looking for work. She's like, "Hey, we need people." I get that job, and of course, I had to interview for it. And my about-to-be girlfriend vouched for me, and I was a shoo-in.
He seems cool. He only burned my bread twice.
Yes. We just had our 20-year the 20-year anniversary of the day that we met.
Yeah.
And she made garlic bread.
That is so good. That is just fantastic. It's fantastic. So I just ran into a guy I used to work with at a supermarket. Now, I don't shop conventional supermarkets anymore. I just refuse.
Well, you know what goes on there all too well. So
Yes.
how could you?
So I go to the big box stores. I like those. They're bigger. They don't have the same level of like driving customer service. I can be left alone. I can buy my shit. I ran into a guy I worked with for years, and he was working for Bimbo now, working for the bread company. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was good to see him. It was great. We went to lunch a few times. We worked together. We were really cool. He was a very interesting person, engaging, intelligent. I liked hanging out with him. And we shot the shit for a few minutes and caught up a little bit, but that was it. And those are the kinds of relationships that I have. I have a lot of those kinds of acquaintance friendships from my days in groceries. Like if I ran into 100 different people, they would be the same kind of friendly. And then, it wasn't like, hey man, we should hang out soon. We should, I don't know.
Yeah. Conversely, have you had those interactions out in public where you run across people that you didn't necessarily get along with at a previous position, or you kind of wish they hadn't recognized you, or you wish that you want out of that interaction? It's awkward and just kind of like, I was really trying to do this and I don't want to be talking about this, and this is superficial, and I have
had encounters like at the mall or something where was somebody who I wasn't as cool with as I maybe once was, or maybe we had a falling out, and the dry cordiality, it's very uncomfortable. It's very, but those kinds of things are nice and as such that, nice to see you, nice to see you too, and then separate ways. So I don't have anybody who doesn't like me. If I lock eyes with them in a public place, they're not going to stop and be like, "Hey, you!" They're not doing that, because I don't create the gray area friendships or acquaintanceships. It's either, hey, we got along and we did good, or this guy was a fuck. So, hey, I recognize that guy from groceries. Now let's go this way. No. There's a definite line in the sand.
So I'm going to bring this all back around to what you were just talking about. But to do that, I have to go back.
I have to reel it in, go back.
I have to go back, talking about my wife.
All right.
So we told garlic bread story. She got me a job at the YMCA. She's my boss supervisor. Then we have the bright idea. Something I had been wanting to do, and I mentioned to her about going to work at a summer camp somewhere, just to kind of have an experience either in another state or another country for a summer.
What kind of summer camp? Just like, kids?
For kids, yeah. For adolescents, somewhere, high school or younger.
Okay. So
anywhere in between.
Some kind of
K-12,
youth
yeah,
group kind of deal.
But when I mentioned it, she's like, "Oh, that kind of sounds like a good idea too." So we applied for a bunch of different positions all over the place. We took interviews. I had an interview from a camp in Pennsylvania. She had an interview for a camp in Alaska.
Oh, so you were putting in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's actual websites and agencies devoted to filling camp counselor staff all around the world. And so we put ourselves into one of their databases, and
so you just applied to everything from Camp Winnemucca to Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, we filled out a profile. It's kind of like the Indeed of, or just whatever you would use to secure work. Now, to put yourself out there in the most places possible, that's what we did. And so we got calls from all over the place. Turned out, and I can't remember exactly how this happened, but we ended up at the same camp, or at least the same lake in Minnesota. She was working at the girls' camp across the lake, and I was working at the boys' camp.
And of course, you've never seen the movie Meatballs, so...
No, I have not.
No, yeah. The 80s summer camp movies, brilliant.
Yes. So then we got back from that, and while I was at the YMCA, there was a gentleman I met who his wife worked at an agency, and he said I should go check it out. So then I did, and I got a job there, and then I recommended that to my girlfriend at the time, and then she got a job there. She still works there to this day, and I say that to say, because I worked there for as long as I did, and my wife still works there, there's many people, ex-coworkers that I used to know, that know my wife really well, but will sometimes find me out in public alone, and we'll bump into each other, but it's awkward because there's nothing that we really have to talk about other than the connection of
the job.
Hey, we used to work together years ago, and they can't talk about their job because all of the students there, it's all bound by confidentiality, so we can't really talk about what's currently going on there. And they know my wife, and I know that. But there's that. Some of them know my kids, and some of them don't, and we make pleasantries and some small talk. But the most recent encounter, or at least the most recent encounter that I wanted to escape, was one I found myself in your previous grocery store.
You were in a Save Mart.
I was there.
Could have been him, because I worked at all of them.
I was there doing some shopping before the last Super Bowl, and there some conversations with previous coworkers don't have a clear and defined end or out, and this was one of those. And usually I am extremely good in interpersonal communication, and this particular situation did not lend itself to my
your patented breakaway tactics. Yeah,
it completely deviated from what I would have expected, and it persisted longer than
I'm the king of making a statement and walking away. That's how I do it.
For my wife's sake, I wasn't rude because I knew she was going to see these people tomorrow.
No, but see, that's why I'm so good at it. It doesn't come off as rude. It just comes off as final.
Final.
Yeah.
Sorry. A conclusion had been reached.
Yes, but you were unable to do that, and you were stuck, languishing in conversation purgatory.
Let's continue to talk about the thing I don't want to talk about, and then just the let's state the obvious, and it's it's nice weather. We don't know.
Oh, you're talking about the core safe zone topics.
Yes, and hey, we're at a grocery store shopping the Super Bowl sale the day of the Super Bowl or the day before the Super Bowl.
How about those Bud Light prices, eh?
So what are you doing? Oh, what are you? Well, you know what I'm doing. You know why I'm doing it, because it's the same thing you're currently doing. Is there?
Yes, I bought chips. Yes, I bought salsa. You too, huh? Wow.
People are uncomfortable with walking away or ignoring a person that they once knew. They don't want to talk to them, and they know that they don't want to talk to you, but we're going to do it anyway.
So do you think it's because of the societal norms and expectations that we maintain a familiarity even if we don't want to?
Yes.
I think that's the core of it. Like, hey, I know you. I have to engage with you. Otherwise I will be doing something that is against the societal norms. Mm-hmm. Why can't we just normalize, like, we lock eyes down an aisle in a supermarket and we'd be like, hey, bro, I don't really remember anything that I want to talk to you about, but good seeing you, and just walk
Mm-hmm.
away. Can we do that?
So I've found a group of people that I think are excellent at doing this, hey, we no longer have a reason to interact, and we shouldn't. In fact, we shouldn't acknowledge each other. I found a specific group of people on planet Earth that are excellent at doing that. It's a skill.
And they are. I mean,
They are high school girls.
Oh, because you coach high school girls.
I do. I coach high school girls soccer, and after the soccer season, or sometimes even amidst a current season, if we're not at practice, if we're not at the games, if we're not at tournaments, and we are crossing paths, but they're already maybe on their way to do something else or engaged in another interaction. You know how you know when people see you?
Yeah.
But they're acting like they didn't see you? They're not obvious about it, but high school girls are incredible at...
So they're not like, hey,
keeping
coach!
up. No.
Ooh, they're
No.
just like, we can both acknowledge that I see you and you see me, and let's leave it at that.
Yes. Yes. Some do, but I would say that they're in the minority. And the vast majority of the girls that I have coached over the past few seasons are disinterested in continuing any sort of relationship or exchanging anything or being a part of any interaction with their coach outside of...
We could deep dive into the nuances of that. I don't want to.
No, I don't want to either. But I found it to be interesting. Yeah. But I think many people feel that way after they leave a position, especially if they have left a position under extenuating circumstances, or if they were stressed, if it was they were unhappy, they were dissatisfied, if they didn't give enough notice, like we talked about before. If you're if you're not interested in maintaining that bridge, if you just want to burn it to the ground, well, you don't want to see those people again.
Yeah, I find that if I encounter somebody and we used to work together and we start to have a conversation and it immediately goes to the things that, the fun stuff, like what we both dislike about the thing we shared. Mm-hmm. Those aren't friends. I mean, they're coworkers. They're definitely hey, it's good to see you. What have you been up to? Oh, just the daily grind. How about those obnoxious holiday customers? Am I right? Oh yeah, that's the worst. Yeah, they're coworkers.
Yes.
We can be friendly, but I think that we should be able to say, hey, you know what? We have nothing in common, but it was nice to see you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's fascinating how I think as a particular profession gets a little bit more, I think the more specialized a profession is and the more specialized and the more demanding a profession is, I think lends itself to stronger friendships and stronger relationships outside of the workplace.
So I have a pretty good relationship with one of my coworkers now, and I think it might be.
Did we see him today?
We did. He was there. He was there.
It was a good workout.
Yeah, and we do have a lot in common inside the workplace. Like we can talk about work, and it doesn't feel like we can only talk about work. We have other things in common as well. We were both old school hip hop heads, that kind of stuff. But we have exercising in common, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that you might be onto something with if I work a retail job, I share those experiences with millions of people. Mm-hmm. But I feel more welcomed by a group that knows things about what I do now that is significantly smaller. It's weird. It's almost like an oxymoron. It contradicts itself. I should feel at home with this massive sea of people who have this shared experience, but I don't. I feel more at home with the one or two people who understand this thing that other people don't get.
Sure. It's kind of the same thing as when you share a traumatic experience with people. If you were in a car wreck and that car flipped 15 times in the air and landed on its roof and you're the two people that survived, right? You are the only two people that understand what it was like to go through that thing. And as traumatic and terrible as it was, when you come out of it, you're more likely to be connected than all the other people in the world that have been through car wrecks, right? Yeah. It's not like there's this big club for all the people that have been through wrecks all over the United States. We know there's millions of those that happen every single year.
Tim Burton. I was talking about hanging TVs.
No, but the more narrow something gets, especially if you have to put a lot of effort to join that club, if you need degrees and certifications, and if you're also working 18 hours, 3 days a week at that thing, and you're bound by confidentiality in some cases. There's restrictions on what you can share. I know with my particular position, I had to sign an NDA for I would have never expected to sign a non-disclosure agreement for my current position. And this was the first position in education that I was asked to sign one.
I had to do one as well, and I can't even tell you about it.
Yeah, you can't even tell you that you signed it. Mm. But those positions, things like that, it's a small club, few people understand it, and you can't talk about it with everybody else because they are not going to get you, and maybe you don't have the time or energy, or you're just not legally able to disclose such information. You're spending a great amount of time. Yeah, friendships and relationships can occur.
I think we can take like the non-disclosure element out of it and just say that it's things that require a climb. You have to educate and learn this thing that not everybody's doing. And so here we are, you have more in common. I mean, like anybody can get a job flipping burgers. Anybody. We could go across the street and probably apply and get hired today at the McDonald's across the street from me. Mm-hmm. But making yourself a part of that achievement-based exclusive club, it shows a drive in a very specific direction that very specific people have gone down, and there is a camaraderie that's a part of that. You're attached to these people in a way that no one fully understands unless they did the same path. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
There's a level of understanding that needs to occur in order for that.
But it's so funny because while I was working groceries, I felt that kind of kinship in the same vein. Now that I no longer do groceries, I don't feel the connection to those people. Would it be the same if I no longer did AV integration? Or
it might.
But I've encountered, so it's hard to gauge because I've encountered fewer people who do what I do now just because it's a narrower field.
Mm-hmm. Naturally.
But I worked with a couple thousand people in groceries, and I have 2 enduring friends. I have worked in AV integration for about a decade, and I have two enduring friends.
So that's your internal limit too. That's
all
you get, bro.
But the thing is, where in groceries I worked in 10 cities, and I worked with a couple of thousand people. In AV, I have worked in one place, and I've worked with a dozen people.
Okay.
So by percentage, I have a stronger kinship. Like I've been to the houses of more people, percentage-wise, in what I do now.
Okay.
Than what I did then.
Yes, you've broken bread with more people doing your current profession.
Huge numbers. And I think that's something to be said for if you're looking for friendships, like real friendships. It's about where you're at. It's about where you're at, but if you can find things that you have more in common with people, it's also about where you can go.
The potential.
Yes.
What road are you on?
So
where are you going?
Yeah, I'm at a supermarket. I work with these 100 people. I have to choose between these people, and we've got to learn each other. We may find things we interact with outside of work. We may find the commonalities. We may find the things that we enjoy doing together, or we may not. But just like with romantic relationships, I went to school for this thing. I went into this field, and I had to put in the time, work, and effort to be a part of this organization, to be a part of this field. Mm-hmm. And so I've already gotten in with the people that are also doing that. Shared experience.
Do you, as you think back, are there people from previous places of employment, or maybe even people at your current place of employment, that you weren't friends with or that you aren't friends with right now that maybe you wish you were friends with, or that you were in a friendship
No,
with?
I don't think so.
No.
I value the time I spent with those people.
Okay.
But I find that the reason why I got along with people when I was in groceries, it was the people who had a similar work ethic. They were strong employees. They wanted to get things done. And then we had that going. We had a shared goal of performing our duties well. We wanted the store to run good, be profitable. We wanted the bread to be full. We wanted the milk to be, that kind of stuff. That shared experience and that shared value is what made us friendly, if not friends.
Okay.
But going deeper, we didn't have any interests beyond that. Everyone's into sports or into camping or things that I just didn't care about. So when it came to deciding whether or not we were going to spend time out of work, it was like, no, because we don't have any interests. So but like I said, like I've said before, I love what I do now. I love my job. I love it. It's so awesome. And the other people who love their job, now we have a shared enjoyment of something that can springboard into a bigger relationship. And yeah, it's work. Mm-hmm. It is our job, but I can talk about AV integration like out of work. I never wanted to talk about check stand operations out of work.
Yeah, when you find something exciting to do, you want to get up, you want to go do that. It's extremely rewarding, and when the people you work with also share that sentiment, then Yeah, it's something special.
You know, I just upgraded the audio, the home theater in my house, which you have not experienced yet.
No, not at its finest.
No, it's
I got a sample.
yeah. You got a little.
I got a taste.
Just a little music.
I got
You haven't
taste.
watched a movie. We're gonna watch a movie.
We should watch a feature film.
Yes, but the fact that I it ties into what I do for a living. I would not have been able to do this if I may have been able to do it, but I would not have done it as comfortably or as strongly if I didn't do AV for a living. And I was able to, and it's a shared interest that I have with my audiophile hip hop head coworker that bleeds beyond work, and it's because we have this shared interest that also happens to be what we do for a living. Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's good times.
Do you know currently, or have you known married couples in the workplace?
Yeah, I've talked about this. Doing a relationship series
Yeah.
in groceries, every single person that you work with is either married to or divorced from another grocery clerk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's rampant. And so, and I was always very successful at staying away from the romantic relationships in the workplace.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you agree that I was successful like you, however, not. And let me segue into asking you the same question.
Yes. I mean, there was a. Oh, do I want to say this?
So, well, let me start you off by saying I find it endearing and, dare I say, very cute how you and your current wife, who you met, by burning her bread back in the day, were able to you guys basically lived this couch co-op video game experience of helping each other get jobs.
Yes, we did. And this is interesting. So after we met, she got me at the YMCA. We went to go work at the camp. I got a job at the agency, which she currently works at. When she applied, all I mentioned at the time was, "Hey, this is to the owners. This is a friend of mine." I think I waltzed in to talk to one of the owners about something, and I saw her resume on the desk.
On the desk,
And
which is so bad for OUO.
So I just thought, hey, you know what? I'll mention it. So I was like, oh yeah, this. I see you're reviewing some resumes.
This candidate looks particularly strong.
You're going over some applicants. This happens to be a friend of mine. And it's like, oh, okay. Leave the office. She gets my only wife, his current wife, only wife, my first wife.
It can be your first and only of something.
Yes. She received an interview offer. She obliges. She comes in. She accepts. And the whole interview was them asking her about me.
So how do you know psych?
Yes.
What?
Yes. She said, her report, 80% of her interview, or maybe slightly more, slightly less, was about me. Just nonstop question after question after question about me.
An antithesis of what you were saying last episode about your bureaucratic interview processes. They're like, hey, how you doing? So one of our current employees. Hey, tell me about him.
Mm-hmm. How'd you meet? What's he like? How long have you known him?
So here's a question. How long had you been working there before this whole interview process for your wife?
She applied in... So I started in September, and she was hired in December.
So you were still under probation. Do you think it's feasible that they saw this as an opportunity to kind of double dip, interview her for the job, and also
perhaps
assess you?
Perhaps.
Because you were an amazing employee, but you were always late.
I was amazing. And I was habitually late.
Yeah.
Yes. And somehow there's places that you can find that will be accepting of that.
You found them all. Man, when I was a young manager, I had a real hard time with truancy. Like, it bothered me. It gave me grief. It just, like, we're talking about workplace relationships. If you were the kind of person who could not show up on time to save your life, we could not be cool. And my mentor at the time, Gary Schmier, sweetest, everything comes back to Gary. He pulled me into the office because I was just like worked up, ready to throw fists. And he sat me down and he said, Kay, there are some people in this world who are never going to be on time. My wife, who I love to the ends of all, has never been on time to a single thing her entire life. She was late for her birth. She'll be late for her own funeral. And he was like, you have to decide whether or not it's important enough to let yourself get worked up over 2 to 6 minutes and make that your battle with that individual.
So I present to you a list of my previous employments. The ones with stars
Are the places that you never were on time for?
pretty much.
Yeah.
The ones that are circled, I was mostly on time.
Mostly on time. And these ones that you were circled, these seem like bullshit jobs. these ones here, the ones that you have circled, all seem like your serious work.
Oh, this is serious work. That's serious work. But
Pool
also,
and spa, what is that?
that was a residential pool and spa company.
Okay, all jobs are serious work. But you know what I'm saying. Take your job seriously.
Well, these two are the universities.
Oh, okay.
And this one was the camp, which I lived there, so it was kind of hard to be late to the job that you are.
But you figured it out, didn't you? So yes.
I want to throw this at you.
So yes. So I'm okay with. I mean, we get along because you're amazing at what you do, even though you can't for the life of you be on time. Because my mentor taught me the lesson about choosing your battles. I don't know what this has to do with workplace relationships, but it started with me saying those people used to infuriate me to no end.
Well, we're kind of at work, but this whole thing is.
Yeah, and you were late. You were late in your own house. I show up and you're like, "Hey, I got a shower." That's
True story.
and it's perpetual.
Yes. No, I am not a perfect man.
No, but you know what? The things that you do better than others far outweigh the fact that I may have to wait 6 or 8 minutes for you to arrive.
Thank you. Cheers. Yeah. I wish my current employer felt the same way.
Oh, but you're the bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
I work at a place where it is function over form. We don't adhere to those kinds of things like, you got to be at your desk with your fingers on the keyboard at this time, and I swear to you it doesn't matter as much. And I find that, I show up. I show up on time. I'm that guy. But I find that allowing people to be comfortable with the fact that, you know what? It takes me 1 hour and 15 minutes to get to work. And if one person fucks that up and it takes me 90 minutes to get to work, I don't have to stress over the fact that I'm going to be late. And removing that increases productivity. It lowers the overall stress of the environment. People come in, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. Or don't even say I'm sorry, just like come in. They know that work starts. Let me get to it. Mm-hmm. And that, without even knowing at the time, I think that the lessons that Gary taught me about that kind of stuff, the little things that we can compromise over that don't really matter. And I've since met people like yourself and yourself who can't be on time, and learning that lesson, early in life has taught me that I don't need to fight that battle. I don't need to. I mean, I can give you shit about it, and I can make fun of you for it.
You could.
But I don't need to make that a sticking point in our relationship, because you're still performing at peak, And you're obviously not stressed about the fact that you're not on time.
No, I think so. I was just having this conversation, and I know it's not. I mean, we started talking about interpersonal relationships in the workplace, and I guess this kind of is one, but it's coming from my supervisor. I was talking to my supervisor about being, actually, rather, strike that, reverse it. My supervisor was talking to me about being on time, being punctual, and they were saying that it alleviates stress and it alleviates, you're more relaxed, you're more, here you go, you're more, calm and just ready to go.
You're always late, I'm a fucking slob.
And so what he was saying though, I didn't identify with, because he felt better having it more than enough time to come into an environment relaxed. And I'm the opposite. I almost kind of prefer the stress.
Yeah, I know you do. I know that makes you an outlier. Nobody wants to work themselves up into a fervor and then be like, "Oh, let's do this thing."
But yes, that's kind of how I've operated, and I've held management positions.
You're in a management position.
I've been people's supervisor. Well, yeah, I guess
whether you like it or not,
technically am in one right now, and it doesn't matter to me. All right, you can't 1 minute. I'm not watching the clock, and I tell everyone, it's like, you know what? I get it. I'm poor with time management. I don't expect everybody to be good at it. If it's within the realm of what could be considered reasonable, I don't have a problem with it, as long as you're performing on the job. If you do your job and you do your job well, there's not going to be any issue. If your lack of punctuality is leading to you being, if it's turning into a point where, if you're underperforming because of your lack of punctuality, well then, if they're connected, then we can address that. But if they're not, if you're performing and you're excellent and there's no other problems in your work or your job at all, then great. I'm happy with that if you can at least maintain that. Yeah. But as soon as it starts to veer off course, then and we might need to rethink.
We're the same way. If I'm like, all right, guys, here's the tickets, and they get done in the time frame that I've allotted for those assignments, mm-hmm. I don't really have much negative to say about it. If customers aren't complaining, if things are being done in the time frame allotted, and we're all getting along. I mean that's why we're getting along. Like that's for me. That's workplace relationships. If we're all a part of the solution, and we're not doing anything to adversely affect the pursuance of that solution, that's perfect for me. And that's workplace relationships in a nutshell. We can be friends outside of work, and I'm not opposed to that if we have things in common, woo. But if we're talking about core workplace relationships, we are all brought together, we were all brought together to do a job. Mm-hmm. And if we can do that job effectively and coexist while doing that job effectively, then our workplace relationship is optimal.
Could you be friends with someone in the workplace who was underperforming? So
I've made this statement, and I will make this statement now. I don't know how this goes over, but I have said I know plenty of great people that suck at their job. Mm-hmm. Have I been friends with people that I felt were suboptimal in their work performance? I have. Okay. I have been social with people. One of my first real work buddies in groceries, back when I first got promoted from janitor to cashier, and I started in groceries as a janitor. Okay. I literally worked my way from the ground floor. But one of my first buddies, and we went to checker training together. He invited me to his family's home. He fed me. Spiciest fucking, Cambodian guy.
Oh,
And,
sounds excellent.
and it was so good. But man, I was sweating. I mean, and it was just like, and I remember him saying,
Rice and a protein and some spices
yeah,
and just flavor.
Yeah, and I remember at the time him saying, hey, how spicy do you want it? I was like, just however you take it.
That's
Dumb, just dumb. But I mean, I learned that lesson. I learned it.
That's a good answer.
But and you know, and we had beers together after work, and maybe more than beers, but I won't explicitly say. We did, you know, he was my work buddy, and he was terrible at his job. Like just lazy, and couldn't remember produce codes, and was a lousy cashier, and he would sneak into the break room and take things from my lunch. I mean,
Oh, wow. I've never had that happen.
yeah, it's fine. You know, but it was a different cultural thing. You know, they don't. He didn't really get.
We share with amongst
He did,
each other.
and that was fine. And that never bothered me. It really never did. Because we worked in the supermarket. If I needed a fucking snack, I'll buy a fucking snack.
You're surrounded by food.
But yes, and I will. I mean, if he called me today and was like, "Hey, bro, haven't seen you in 15 years. You want to hang out?" I would. But he was terrible. He was a terrible coworker.
Yeah, I guess I'll answer my own question. I think I could. I think I could. I think I'm just so enamored with psychology and human behavior, and just people fascinate me. It wouldn't really matter to me, as long as the friendship is reciprocal. You know, if there's some sort of reciprocity. Yeah, I could.
I think because of that, you have endured friendships much longer than I'm willing to. But that might be a topic for another time.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe we've done romantic relationships, we've done workplace relationships. Maybe we need to get into personal relationships. Is there enough to do 4 episodes of that, or do we cut it into 2?
I guess our viewers will have to find out next time.
We're doing it. I'm making a decision. I'm calling it now. Personal relationships next time on the ConverSAYtion podcast.
Because we solved this one.
We solved workplace relationships.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Any final statements?
I don't know how we could do a better job.
I don't know how we can do a better job. Someone will have to tell us.
We covered everything.
We did it.
Yeah. Leave it in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe.
Both of you, yeah.
We could use your help and your support. Thank you.
And good night.
Until next time. So good. This was fun. We should do this again sometime.